Today we're going to talk about 2 visibility strategies. I am going to keep this relatively short because I think this will be pretty obvious once we dive into it. But the reason I wanted to do a live on it was because I feel like it's one of those things that is so obvious, but also that most of us forget, especially one or the other. And so just really wanted to bring it to your attention. We can talk about examples and that kind of stuff. But again, like the point of this is really to be like, hey, are you looking at both of these things in your business? So, awesome. Okay. So what the 2 things are, you guys know, I always I'm just going to get right to the punchline, but what the 2 things are you getting, Michelle says, are you sharing Halloween activities? Yes, Michelle, tell us if you dressed up and what you were. Or you can tell us what you had your daughter be, because that's also fair. But yeah, so the 2 visibility strategies that I feel like are really important, and we'll talk about like the details of them, but are getting visible in front of your audience, and then also getting visible in front of other audiences. And again, like sounds so obvious, but I feel like most people get really caught up in one or the other, where they're either like really showing up in their space all the time, but they're not doing anything to be outside of their space or grow that. And so they're feeling like pretty consistently frustrated that like they're not getting more results in their business when they're putting in a lot of effort, right? Or it's the opposite, where it's like, I'm spending so much time outside of my space. Like I'm watching what everyone else is doing. I'm in their communities. I'm doing all that, but I'm like forgetting to nurture my own people in my own space. And so what is really the trick to long-term growth is being able to do both. Like if you're really good at creating conversions in your space, and then you're good at bringing new people into that, your business is naturally going to grow and thrive, right? If you're just bringing a bunch of people in, but you're not good at like monetizing or converting that, that will be a problem. Or if you are good at like paying attention to your audience and serving them really well, but there's nothing that's creating a new pipeline to that, you're going to ultimately feel like you're running out of steam with your audience. And so we'll talk about what these look like in different ways, but I think it's just really important, again, because I feel like most of us tend to focus on one or the other and get really caught up in one. I think the one I see the most is just getting caught up in being in your own space. So it's like you're, showing up constantly in your communities, you're nurturing them, you're sending value content, like you're doing all of these things, right? But like, do you have the right people? Are you like consistently going out and talking to more of the right people in other places and bringing them back in? Like that's when that works really well over time, right? Michelle says, I was mommy shark because Mila wanted to be baby shark. She was mommy shark last year. So Ori and I got t-shirts to match her. She was thrilled, even though it was the least costume effort on our part ever. Well, that is a win-win. She was thrilled. You just had to wear a t-shirt. That sounds like a total mom win to me. Hey, Jen. Hey, Elisa. Oh my gosh, happy November. Isn't that wild? My brain cannot compute that it is November 1st. Cannot compute. I ordered a Christmas mug this morning, though, to like get in the spirit. So here we go. But yes, it's so bizarre that it's November. The non-mom win was when she stepped in dog poop while trick-or-treating. Oh yeah, that does not sound fun. That kind of puts a damper on things a little bit. Yeah, so your audience, other audiences. So we're going to talk about what that looks like. But I really want you to keep that in mind. Now, this does not mean, because we talked about this last week, actually. Now, this does not mean just go grow at all costs, right? Again, this is about the both. Like if you follow me at all, I'm always talking about the both. So yes, keep your focus on sales and conversions, but of course you want to use the content you're creating and get it in front of more people, right? I personally have this rule in my business where I never create anything for one place, right? So even this live, for example, like obviously I'm creating it for this Facebook group, but we also repurpose them and put them on my website. We send them out in an email, and then we later repurpose them and put them in an IGTV on Instagram, right? So that's just an example, but like it's this idea of make use of what you're doing in your space to be in other spaces and or make use of what you're doing in other spaces in yours. Like if you're going on a lot of podcasts, are you turning that into content for your space and to nurture your audience? Or are you totally forgetting to even share that with your audience, right? That's where it feels like you're doing a lot of work and not always getting the results from it. And when you can see that anything you do one way, you can leverage the other, it gets so much easier, right? When you can see that both of those fit together, that's when your business grows. Now, again, it doesn't mean growth for the sake of growth or growth above conversions. That's not it, right? Again, like we talked about last week, I want you to be sales focused. I want you to be conversion focused, especially at the beginning of your business. Do not just grow for the sake of growth if you are not converting the shit out of your audience, right? But one of the ways to convert the shit out of your audience is by having new people trickle in. Okay. Yeah, Florida Christmas. But exactly. I had to it is a little chilly here though right now. So I will take that. That's why I even have on like a fuzzy shirt. It's lovely. Oh, November is your birthday month. Amazing. And launch month. That's amazing. Well, happy November to you. I bet you have been waiting for this month, Elisa. That's very exciting. So what was I saying? Okay. So you see how important that is, right? Where it's like, I definitely need to not put all my attention on growth, but I also doesn't make sense to be creating all this stuff that I'm not leveraging to grow in other ways, right? That's the difference. And also, hey, Emma, thank you for being here. And never be sorry for being late. You can jump on late anytime, totally fine. What do I suggest doing for visibility if you're struggling with health issues and don't have a lot of brain space energy each day? Honestly, this philosophy, I think, really applies to that, Mandy, where it's like taking what you're doing one time and using it multiple places. So sometimes if we feel like we're struggling, we're like, okay, all I can do is whatever, crank out this post or this live or whatever it is, right? And that can be true, but it's like, do you leverage that in other ways? Or do you have a team that can come leverage that? So it's like I gave the example of this live is going to go on my website, my email list, my Instagram, all of those things, right? So it's however long this is, say it's 40 minutes, right? Now it's working for me in 4 places. Or say I go on someone else's podcast. Can we use that content? Can we promote that to our email list? Can we, put that as a link up on our website, that kind of stuff, right? Where it's how do you make use of I'm doing one thing, but if this one thing is serving my audience, how can I get it to serve other audiences? Or if this one thing is serving someone else's audience, how can I draw it back into mine? And so everything you do, you get double bang for your buck, basically, right? So your 40 minutes translates to way more over time, as opposed to feeling like all of those have to be separate. Hey, Jess, November has lots of visibility for me. So loving this live. So good. I'm excited for all your visibility. Yeah. So does that make sense? It's how do I make it work for me in terms of how does it connect with my audience and how does it get in front of more audiences? And so when you're seeing everything through the lens of how can I make it do both, that's when it feels so much more worth it. Sometimes too, whether you're time limited or, have health issues or not, it just makes it feel more worth it to do the things, right? When you feel yeah, I'm going to go on this podcast and that might be good because it would get me in front of other people, but oh my gosh, I have so much work to do for my audience. That's when it gets heavy, when you can be oh, I'll go on this podcast and then that will become my newsletter this week, or that will become the thing I promote in my Facebook group or whatever. That's when it can feel easier, but it's also super strategic because ideally all content serves both. I think I'm so curious what y'all think about this, but I feel Facebook groups have gotten a really bad rap lately, a little bit. And people can get so over it or whatever. And I do get that. I get that it can feel spammy over time and all of those things. But at the end of the day, I'm if there are other audiences that I can for free go put content I've already created in front of, I'll do that all day long. That just makes so much damn sense to me because it's me getting in front of another audience with something I've already spent the time to create for my audience, right? So leveraging things like that just make so much sense. In fact, someone showed me recently, I'm not even going to try to look because then I was just going to like start clicking around. This will be a bad idea. I will not do that. But there's now a post feature where you can post something in multiple groups when you post, right? And I feel like that's such an easy thing to like eye roll or be like, oh, that's so spammy or whatever. Or it's an easy thing to be like, oh my God, that's an amazing tool for me to do exactly what I need to do, which is use what I'm creating and then also get it in front of other people. Like I have been posting in other Facebook groups since like the very beginning of my business, all over, right? All throughout. And, you know, even if like that brings in 4 people a week, I mean, I don't know the statistic on it, but let's just say that, like, let's say it brings 4 people a week into my business. Okay, well, that's 20 people a month. Let's say my conversion rate is 10%. Well, I just got 2 clients, you know, like that's really important to see how like it can feel a little bit like eye rolly, but those little things really do make such a big difference. There's a multiple group post feature. Tell me more. Yeah. Who told me about it? Julia told me about it. It's like if you go to post in one group, like it popped up something where it was like, do you want to post multiple places or something like that? So they might be rolling that out. But yeah, that is definitely like, I mean, like she showed it to me, I saw it. So it is definitely a real thing. And yeah, like, I don't know if it's rolled out everywhere, kind of how Facebook always takes its time with that, but it is a coming. Yeah. Okay. How cool is that? I need to try that. Also, everyone now has the link sticker. Exactly. Option in IG stories, even if you don't have 10K followers. Exactly. And I think that took time too, you know, so like we knew that was coming. But I think it took what, like a month from like when you knew that was coming. So, you know, with the feature, maybe it'll take a little bit, but yeah. Right. But I think it's just so important to see like little things like that. Okay, let's thought. Okay, good. Amazing. So maybe more people do have it. I don't know. Check it out and try. But like, how cool is that, right? Like, and again, sure, that can contribute to being spammy, but don't do that with spammy shit. Do that with value, right? It is not spammy to put value in multiple places, and anything in our industry that tells you that is totally missing the fucking point of the fact that we're business owners running a business. And so if Facebook has created this feature that makes it easier for you to do that, by all means do that, right? You don't have the link. Michelle, have you updated your app? Because that could be it too. Elijah says, I love posting my own group, but struggle with posting in other groups. I'm not sure. I think it feels odd to promote in someone's group. Also not sure what to, oh shoot, hold on. I'm not sure what to probably bring to those posts. Okay. I mean, I'll tell you my thoughts on that. Obviously, I don't know. I can't speak for like everyone in the industry, but like I love it when people post in my group. Like if you're coming to this community and you're bringing value, it would be wild for that to feel bad for me, in my opinion, right? This is obviously my personal opinion. But like you're just adding to my community value, and so other people will want to come to this community because there is a lot of value in it, right? So anything that you contribute to the community that's valuable is valuable to the group owner. And again, I don't know that everyone sees it that way, but to me, my brain just can't compute not seeing it that way. Like, of course, I want you to grow and I want you to have wins here. You know, that's something I talk about all the time. Emma says that's a great tool. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, Lucy. Michelle, see what Lucy said. She updated hers and then it popped up. But I just can't compute thinking about it otherwise. Like, I want you to have wins in here, because the more you have wins in here by like sharing value, maybe you get a client here, maybe 4 people join your community because of it. Like, you're going to associate me with that win and this community with that win, and you're going to want to keep coming back, you know? So if you're feeling weird about being in other groups, I would just remember, like, most group owners, I think, really fucking appreciate that. Like, you're just adding to the community that they've created, you know? And so that's like a really beautiful thing. And personally, like, I only see that as a good thing. Now, you guys know my pet peeve is ladder posts. So that isn't it, because that doesn't always feel like value. That feels like you're trying to like hack the algorithm or something. And I don't love that and how spammy that can get. But the point is, when you're truly giving value, being like, here's amazing free content, like, it's so good that I created it for my audience and now I want to share it here, like, that is always a win, right? Michelle said, for a long time, I felt really weird posting non-biz content in these biz groups, but I'm like, everyone here is a human and there is a human here that needs that offer. Yeah, totally. There's probably also plenty of other spaces and groups you can test out too that like fit, but like, either way, like, even if you got one person a week, right? Like, using that math, and then say you converted one of them, like, you're still like, it still matters to see that coming into your business, right? Like, if you're getting one client a month from that, that's still hugely worth the effort, you know? Elijah said, totally love it when people promote in my group. So total mindset issue for me when it comes to posting in others. Yeah. Well, maybe you could just assume that they share that philosophy and you're like doing them a favor and giving them a gift, you know? It's lush. Emma, thank you. I feel like that is a beautiful, beautiful compliment, and so appreciate you hanging out here. Yeah, and I think the reason a lot of people want to hang out here is because we do encourage that. Like, I want you to get visible in front of other people here. You know, that to me is part of me supporting you to have success in business and to grow in that way, is being able to utilize my community, my audience, to showcase your offers in front of, right? So I think it's just really important to remember that in general, I think most group owners really do appreciate that. And then I think it's also really helpful to remember, like, what am I giving up by not doing that? Like, at what cost to my business of not leveraging this content to go other places, right? Because that part is so important. Again, if we just use that little math exercise that my brain did there of like, okay, if I get 20 extra people from it a month and I convert at 10%, it's two clients a month can be all you need in your business, right? And so it's just really, really cool to see how that can grow. Now, I will say, like, of course, by organically posting just on your own stuff, like, you're gonna get growth there, right? Like, people might share your stuff, or it might show up on an explore page or something like that. But that's going to be a much slower road than if you're focusing on both efforts, right? Meaning, like, I'm not saying you could never ever grow by just focusing on your own space, but I do think that if you're not leveraging what you're creating there other places, you're just slowing down the growth, right? So this isn't to say it's impossible. I certainly think, like, serve your people really well, and like, organic growth does happen because of that. But if you're serving your people really well by creating really amazing stuff and not getting that in front of other people, you're just working twice as hard as you have to. So that's really the point I want to make with saying, let's focus on both of these, is when you focus on both, you actually get to work less hard at it, right? Because both are working for you. One is helping those, people trickle in every month. Again, like, this doesn't have to be huge. Like, we're not waiting for you to go viral or something, right? This can be like 10 people added to your community a month even. That could make all the difference, And so I think it's just really cool to see, like, if I'm not doing that, like, how can I look at what stuff is coming up for me there mindset wise that's telling me not to do that, so I can leverage that more? Because ultimately, doing so is what makes you work less, is what makes it easier, is what makes it feel like you have a sales machine kind of or process, that is truly starting to work for you, you know? Because especially if you're someone who's like, well, I'm great at converting, but like, you know, I'm not really getting out there. Well, shit, if you already know you're great at converting and then you just add this tweak of getting more in front of other people's audience and spaces, you're almost guaranteed that your business is going to grow significantly, right? So how cool is that? And you already have the content for it if you're already good at converting. Do you see what I mean? So it's like, when you think about it like that, it's such a no-brainer. But number one, sometimes we don't think about it that way strategically. And number two, sometimes our mindset blocks that keep us from doing that. So I just wanted to illustrate today, like how much sense this makes. And so you can either be like, oh shit, I just never thought of it strategically like that. Or you can be like, oh shit, I have a total mindset block there and now I have an opportunity, you know? Michelle says, yes to not working any harder than we have to. Love this reminder to use content in multiple places. Amazing. Hey, Morgana, thank you for being here. Hey, Melanie, welcome. Brittany says, I don't know how to build my Facebook group. It feels so hard and slow. So, Brittany, I think like similar to what we were kind of talking about here is like, are you getting something in front of other audiences that brings people into that? And what I typically find is that giving someone a really strong reason is it. So like I used to run challenges all the time to grow this Facebook group. And so then I was sure that the people that were coming in really wanted the purpose of that challenge, meaning like, let's say I did a challenge on content or whatever. I knew that like, even if that only brought whatever, 20 extra people into my group or something like that, it was still 20 people that really wanted help with that. And I knew that's what I was selling. So it kind of worked in that way of being like, it's using other audiences to share I'm doing this thing, then having the right people come in from those who are interested in that specific topic. If they're really interested in that specific topic, then it's highly likely, right, that I'm going to be able to convert. So it's like that whole kind of machine. I think that, you know, sometimes that's all it takes with a group is to just like be really topic specific in what you're doing and then get that in front of other audiences and let those people kind of roll on it. Does that make sense? Sorry, needed that. So obviously there are plenty of other ways to do it, but that one is personally my favorite, even like above like giveaways or like add people or add that, like asking people to add friends and stuff like that, because I feel like sometimes that's not giving you the best conversion opportunity. But that's why I'm such a fan of use what you already have, leverage it to grow, because you know people are coming in because they're very specifically interested in that content or in that thing. So it's like, if you are already going to run a challenge for your people because it's a great conversion tool, can you promote it in front of other audiences, right? So that you're using what you're already going to have for your people that you know converts well, but you're getting more people in, you know? And so that way you're really in this position to kind of know like, okay, amazing. This thing that I'm creating here, people are being pulled in by that conversation, that topic, and they're more likely to convert over time. So when you're using the stuff you're already making that your audience likes, it's almost a guarantee in a way that if the right people see that, they'll come in and you'll grow with the right people. Hey, Milana, thank you for joining us. So that part just really can feel slow, to be honest. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. But I also think it's one of those things that we don't want to lose sight of what we talked about last week, which is still being sales and conversion focused. Okay. So I don't want you to go out and like, this isn't just to Brittany, I'm just like going off that point, but I don't want anyone to go out and feel like, oh, okay, now I have to like fully just focus on growth and I have to get as many people in as possible. And like, however that works. And like, let's just get the people in and that kind of stuff, because then we get really distracted over there. Right. But if we can be like, I'm cool with organic, sustainable growth because my focus is conversions, right? So even if I'm only adding 30 people a month to my community or whatever, because I have a really heavy conversion focus, I know that some of those will become clients. Like, to me, that's how I see steady growth happen with people, where it feels really slow at the beginning, right? Like, this group did not grow fast at the beginning at all, by the way, at all. It just was slow and steady over time. And I really worked hard to promote it. I ran challenges in here every single month, like really, really delivered for a while. Obviously now it's a bigger group, so I think Facebook presents it more and all of that. Like, it really does start to work for you later. You know, like, I don't really have to promote the group in the same way anymore. We just have new members joining really frequently. I think we just have like the algorithm on our side a little bit now, but it really did take time. And so I think it's just important to, you know, remember that, because I think sometimes in this world, we almost feel like if I'm not adding 1,000 followers a month or something like that, you know, it's not going to work. And I just totally don't agree with that. I think if you were adding, you know, 20 or 30 and they were like qualified people who like wanted to hear what you were talking about and you were sales and conversion focused, I think that could grow your entire business, right? Oh, good. Brittany says, I love how you break it down. Awesome. Morgana says, my experience of growing my group is very similar. It generated nearly 450K, but there were only 450 people in there, slow and steady and conversion focused. Boom. So good. Yes. So true. I think we made our first 100K with less than 200 people in here, you know, so similar. Like, it really wasn't about the big growth for us at all. It was definitely about that, like, over time and conversion focus. Elisa says, that's so good to hear. We can get so in our heads with wanting fast growth and comparing where we are with it with someone else who has been doing it for years and years. Exactly. The other biz we had, 10K people join in 2 weeks and it was a nightmare and no buyers. Yes, Morgana, exactly. Like, sometimes that's what happens. Like, especially if you're like, I just want people in, you know, like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm not opposed to giveaways, but just as an example, like, I'm going to do this like big giveaway and we're just going to get as many people in as possible. Like, that can be okay sometimes, right? But like, if they're not really coming because they specifically want to learn this thing from you, the conversion point is going to feel so different and so much harder. And so just remembering that, where it's like, that's why I keep harping on, leverage the content you already have, because if someone is like, damn, that post is amazing, who is this, and follows you, you are so much fucking closer to converting than if they were like, oh, sweet, like, I want to win, like, you know, whatever, an iPad. I'm just making this up, but you do, like, you know how some of that goes, right? That doesn't mean anything really for you. Like, it just means you have someone in your community that wants to win an iPad. So like, even though that could like look good numbers wise, does it look good sales wise? Because what we care about is what it happens sales wise, right? Michelle says, thanks for that reminder of the growth starts slow and then picks up. It sounds exponential. I also love that when I joined this group last year, it had 11K members and now it has 17K. Exactly. Like, I think this is what we all miss being able to see with someone else's growth sometimes, is that it really is just that idea of the snowball rolling down the mountain where it just picks up over time. And it's usually because of things like that. Like, I put my heart and soul into this community to build it from the beginning, and it grows so much easier now than it ever has. But it really is because of that consistency over time. It's not because I have a different strategy now. Like, honestly, I probably work way less hard at growing it now. It's just, again, like, we've been doing it long enough that like, those metrics are on our side. And I think that that's what most people miss. It feels like, oh, something else must have happened, or like, I must need to do what Lacey's doing to go from like 11K to 17K or whatever. And that's where it gets so frustrating, because we feel like we're missing something. It's like, all Lacey's been doing is doing this every day for a really long time. And again, not that it always has to take a really long time, but it's just so valuable to see, like, I've just been like doing the slow and steady thing of like, I create good content, I serve my people, we put it other places, and that just eventually picks up enough over time that it explodes. And the hard part is just staying in it long enough and being diligent enough to follow both of those trains, like serve your people, get it in front of others, serve your people, get it in front of others, right? Being diligent enough of doing both of those over time to see the results of that. Lucy says, I've debated doing monthly challenges and always oh my God, I can't read, and always had this fear of, will that distract people from what I'm selling? Like I'm promoting the challenges and then promoting the coaching. And is it all clear for my audience? I definitely want to pick up more in my group and offer trainings and challenges. Yeah, Lucy, what I used to do that worked really, really well, and I think it worked really well for a lot of reasons, but definitely just in terms of like that, like confusion aspect, is I would basically have a cycle where like I would promote a challenge for 2 weeks, then I would sell for 2 weeks, promote a challenge for 2 weeks, sell for 2 weeks, that rotation. And so it always felt really good for me to sell for 2 weeks because I just ran like this super high value challenge, right? And then it always felt really good for me to, you know, promote the next challenge because I had just been selling for 2 weeks. And so it just felt like this really beautiful like flow that we got into. And I think that helped over time where I don't think the audience like felt confused. But another thing I will say to you there that I always remind my clients is like, I totally agree with like not cannibalizing your own offers. Like I would never tell a client to like sell, you know, 3-month, you know, group coaching program and a 5-month mastermind at the same time. Like they're too close. They're going to like cannibalize each other. But with something like a free challenge and then high level coaching, like they're not really cannibalizing each other because it's like, if I want your high level coaching, I probably definitely want to join your free challenge. Like it's a both that I would do. It's not like I have to pick, you know? So I would just remember that too. Light bulb moment, serve my people, then get it in front of others. Exactly. Simplified the whole, what should I be doing question. Amazing. That is literally it, right? Serve your people, get it in front of others. Like if that's all you do in your business forever, you will have a growing business. And again, it doesn't mean you don't have to sell or do all those other things, but this idea that, you know, we have to make it so much more complicated than that is actually what slows us down way more. Michelle said, where would you say free calls fit into that promotion schedule? Can that be the selling if your call is what attracts clients and then the challenge are more of your showing up for your audience and what your style is? Exactly. So in that 2 weeks of selling, if your offer right now is a free call, you would just promote the free call. So it's like promote the challenge for 2 weeks, promote the free call for 2 weeks. So same like cycle there basically. Yeah, good. Emma, love that. Awesome. So I think that's just really helpful to see how simple this can be. And again, it might not like look the sexiest, you know, like it might not be the thing where you're like, oh, damn, well, I did that. And then my Facebook group shot up by 2,000 people in a month or something, you know, it could like something could take off, you know, you never know. I've had clients like randomly go on the right podcast and have that blow up and have stuff like that happen, but you can't force that. Do you know? Like, that's not the thing where you can be like, oh, what's the podcast I have to go on where then it will blow? Like, that's like trying to be like, how can I make sure I go viral? Like, it's not worth the effort. It's going to happen if it happens, but like, you can't force that. But what you can do is be like, okay, well, I don't need that. If I'm doing this, if I'm getting really sales focused with my audience and I'm serving them super well, and then I'm getting that in front of other people, and I just repeat that cycle, that's it. Like, I'm going to feel really solid. And to be perfectly honest, it's way better to feel really solid and knowing you can sign a few clients a month than feeling like, well, something just happened that got me 2,000 people, but like, I don't even know if they're the right people. I don't really know what to do with them. Like that won't make you feel as secure as your brain tells you it will. What's going to make you feel really secure is when you know you have this process in place where it's like, make amazing stuff, convert people, put that amazing stuff elsewhere, convert more people. Like when you can get into that rhythm, that's when you find that security in your business. And that's when you really find that like, oh, like it doesn't matter if I add 2,000 people. And then usually the irony is that that's when something like that will show up randomly because you're not like trying to force it, you know? Jess says, do you think there's a too much to show up in other groups? I have a lot of content to repurpose. I really don't. I mean, like, I think be respectful, obviously. Like, I think it would be weird if like someone was posting in this group like 9 times a day or something like that. But a lot of people post in here every single day, and I love that. Like, I don't think it's too much at all. But like, I feel like it's almost just like I don't know how to say it, like almost like a common sense thing, like where it's like, I wouldn't call my best friend 9 times a day either, but like I would maybe check in with her once, that kind of thing. So I really don't think there's like a too much though, in terms of like, what if I showed up every day? Like, I think that would be amazing. I think that's how, we get to decide to show up. Like, if we have that much content, like that's what's amazing, is we get to decide to leverage it that much, like, I think that I just see content as such an asset in our business, and is like the gift that keeps on giving. It's so, if you've created like a content bank, or like a, like you have content on the shelf, so to speak, that you get to use now, like that's amazing. Like that's like the fruits of your labor. That is like the asset you've built in your business, and you should use that like crazy. Yeah, I was thinking like 3 to 4 times a week in that bill site. Amazing. That's totally perfect. Like, I think, again, you could honestly do more. I'm not saying do, but I think that number is totally great. And I think people will love to learn from that and see that. And I think you'll feel so good making use of all of this stuff and all these assets you already created. And then long term, by the way, it makes you way more excited to create those things, because you see how it works for you. Like, every time I think about, like, let's just use this as an example. So, say today I was like, oh, it was Halloween yesterday. Like, maybe I'll just take a nap. Like, do I really need to show up? Like, it's so easy for me to snap out of that, because I'm like, but I know that this thing today is going in our newsletter. It's going in on our IG. It's going, and the content is going to get repurposed into other communities. The video is going to go on our website. Like, it makes it so easy to be like, I could just show up for that time, because it feels super worth it. Where sometimes I think in this space, it can feel like, oh my God, so I'm going to do this thing today and get on whatever stories or video or whatever for like this long, and then it's going to go nowhere else. Awesome. And that can be demotivating over time. So when you can start using your stuff more, and then seeing that work for you, and seeing like, oh wow, like I use it in this way, and then we use it in all these other ways to bring more people in, you are so much less likely to blow it off, because you're seeing how that 10 minutes of writing that post equates to 10 other places it's getting shared in. Like, that to me is the exciting part of having these online businesses, and having this ability to come to a community like this, even, right? And like put your shit out in front of other people. Like, that's amazing. Like, how cool is that? Like, how, before all of this existed, like how else were you going to be like, I'm going to like do something once, and then it's going to get in front of like several communities of like 10,000 plus people or something? Like, never. That's incredible, right? Michelle says, I recently repurposed a story sequence into a love note because the message was so good not to share it again. Exactly. Even like all of our client lessons, we repurpose to our private podcast feed, like all of those things, right? And it feels so exciting to do it, because I know like when I do that story, like, yes, it's going to serve someone today and multiple other times, so that really, really does help, and helps you feel so much more excited about doing the thing. Now, the one caveat I will share about this that I think is just important to say, in terms of me being like, go get in front of other audiences, is like, you usually have to engage with those other audiences for that to work really well. So meaning, if you like, I can see, I don't know if y'all know this, if you have groups or not, but basically I can see the reach of every single post in this group, so I can see like, oh, this, not just mine, anyone. So I can see like, oh, this post, posted by Jessica got put in front of this many people, you know, which is really, really helpful. But my point is, you're never going to be able to come in here and post one post and have all 17,000 people in this group see it. It's not going to be a thing. I can't even do that. Like I never, ever get reach like that, obviously, you know? But what does make the difference that I can just tell you for sure, because after seeing this and like really looking into those metrics, like it's just the thing that always matters, is your engagement in there as well. So yes, get your stuff out in front of other people's communities, but also remember to take just a small bit of time to engage with those communities too, because that really is what will help that get seen more over time. And it's really is what creates that community vibe. Like, I think that that's when people get bummed, is when it feels like, well, I'm just like dropping a bunch of content places, but like, you know, and that's when it can feel spammy. But if you're like supporting other people's posts, supporting the host of the group, supporting other small business owners, even with just like a like or a quick comment or whatever, that serves everyone. Like that serves you, that serves the community, and it really serves the fact that your post will probably get more reach then. So I just wanted to say that, not to be like, you must do this thing now, but to be like, there is a little more to it. Like, yes, put your content somewhere else, but if you can take 5 minutes to also interact and engage when you do it, you're going to see better results. So like, say you use that Facebook group feature or Facebook group post feature we were talking about earlier, and it shares multiple places. Okay, well, you just saved yourself some time. So go take 3 minutes in each community you just shared it in and engage with people. And that done like consistently over time is what's going to help you have one of those pop moments where it feels like everyone's seeing your shit. It's sort of how I was talking about this group, how it's like, I worked really, really, really hard to grow it at the beginning. And now I think the algorithm is just on our side and it kind of does it for us. Like the same will be true with your content when you're putting it in other people's communities. At first, it'll feel like, okay, I just really want a few people to see this, you know, but over time, the more you engage in that community consistently, the more the algorithm is like, oh, people in this community are engaged with Michelle. They want to see her shit. Like, let's present it. Like the algorithm gets smarter and smarter like that, you know? So you engaging is also a big piece that helps. Always has been true. I think, obviously, who the fuck knows, because everything changes, but I think like it's social media. So probably always will be true in some capacity for a long time. So I just wanted to caveat that, because I do think that that is sometimes the part where we are like, okay, well, I'm like posting places, but it doesn't seem like anyone's seeing it. Well, they might not be seeing it if you're not also engaging, because the algorithm isn't going to present it if it doesn't see you being an active member in that community, you know? That's my new affirmation for the week. People want to engage with Michelle. Yes, the algorithm loves to show them her shit. There you go. Beautiful. Perfect. Done. But again, this is not about that as much as it is about like, please use both types of visibility in front of your people and in front of other audiences. But remember, in front of other audiences still doesn't mean without any effort. It still is going to mean you probably need to engage, or like, again, you know, say you go on someone else's podcast, like maybe you want to be extra active in their community that week or something like that to see more of the benefits of that. Like just little things like that can make a really, really big difference. So I just wanted to remind you of that as well. But that's kind of the gist. Like I really want you to use this as a moment to go look in your own business this week and say, like, am I really fully and consistently doing both of those things? And can I say that I am? Like, can I really see like, okay, yes, like we're really getting in front of other people in this way, and we're really serving our audience in this way. And like, here's the thing. If the answer is no, that's not an opportunity to beat yourself up. That's an opportunity to get really excited and be like, well, fuck yeah, I can see this huge opportunity in my business to grow more. And if the answer is yes, what you need to ask yourself is, okay, what's working really well with that? And then how do we leverage that even more? You know, maybe it works super, super well when you're in this specific community, or you're doing the specific thing, or when you're on podcasts or whatever. Like, cool, how do we do more of that? But just use this as that moment to go, I got to pay attention to this in my business. I either realize I'm not doing both and I have an opportunity, or I am, and it's time to leverage that more, right? Yes, people want to engage with Michelle. It's so good. And that's going to make all the difference in the world, truly. And again, it might look really slow and steady and not like these big, sexy blow ups. But when you're really getting conversions every month and you see how easy that can be, I promise you it will feel incredibly sexy over time to have that level of stability and security and not to feel like you have to chase those huge jumps over time. So I hope that helps. That is my PSA for the week. Remember, if you comment, you'll be entered to win the Biz Bundle. So I will pick tag the winner for that tomorrow. And otherwise, I hope that you guys have an amazing week. I hope you guys have an amazing start to your November. Again, cannot believe it's November. And I will talk to y'all soon. If you guys have questions or if you got to the replay and you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I always come back and check them. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.